Does the doom and gloom Denver Broncos media have you down, feeling like we got no hope for our future, we got no cap space, we burned bridges with Russ? Well, I have good news for you. The Denver Broncos are about to make a bunch of super smart moves. We have 300 days of sun in Colorado, and the future of this organization is so sunny, and I got so much to share with us. So a lot of these things were teased in the year-end press conference with George Payton, Shawn Payton, and our amazing Walmart owner, Greg Penner. And one of the things that just has me extremely excited is this idea of how good our GM has been at evaluating talent. He's signed a bad coach in Hackett. He signed a bad deal with Russell Wilson, but he is a great evaluator of talent. And he's such a great evaluator of talent that we had 3 incredible starters on this team this year who were undrafted free agents, who were on his draft board that he couldn't believe hadn't gotten signed. So we have a starting corner in McMillian. We have Jaleel McLaughlin. He finds great talent in the draft. You look at his first draft, he finds Cooper in the 7th round, Browning and Meinertz in the 3rd round. Like, he has starters and all-pro players and Pro Bowl players that he just picks up off the street, and he has plans on how he can make trades to stockpile even more draft picks. So I'm going to go through some of the great news that he can do and you see some great articles from Mile High Huddle, and we're going to go through a couple of those things. But one of the things was just the confidence that was expressed by him that they are eager to win now. They have had sleepless nights. This isn't we're rebuilding, and once we're off of this dead cap hit in a couple years, we'll be good again. No, this rebuild started last year, and it isn't going to stop. We have someone who can do salary cap voodoo. So the thing with the salary cap is that you have a limited amount that you are allowed to pay on your team each year. But there are creative things you can do if your owner has enough money to do things creatively, like have big signing bonuses, which take the huge sum of money and spread it up over the life of the contract. I'm going to show us exactly how we can do that using a cap calculator here in a second. But just so you know, this isn't just something I'm like conjuring up here in my mom's basement. It's actually my own basement. But I'm not just conjuring these up or being like toxically positive. This is something that, we see here on milehighsports.com that, we're 24 million over the cap, but there are a ton of ways that we can work past this. And truly, one of Shawn Payton's things that a lot of people have said over the years is Shawn Payton has a way. He just keeps kicking the can down the road. And by doing that, someday that might come to roost and hurt you. But at the same time, you look at, there are a ton of wealthy people out there. Like I just read an article from the Rich Dad, Poor Dad thing where he's got like billions of dollars in debt and he keeps kicking it down the road. But by doing that, he's like a mega billionaire now, and he thinks he's played this system out where it's going to work out for him. So looking here, yes, we're 24 million over the salary cap, but we have the ability to make cap room easier than most teams do. So let's look through a couple of the ways that we can make room in the cap for different players and different options that we have, because really they're very good, and I think you'll be feeling awesome about it after. So looking here is the cap. I'm moving it so you can see it. Right now, we are about $30 million over the cap. Now, the cap is determined each year. The NFL bumps that up based on a bunch of things. One of them is like jersey sales. One of them also is media sales and TV sales. And one of the things that hasn't been released yet is just the success of NFL Sunday Ticket. It used to be on DirecTV. You had to have a giant satellite on your house. And so you had to be a diehard NFL fan to pay for Sunday Ticket, which is the most expensive way that the NFL made money. Now, YouTube TV made that the easiest, I absolutely loved Sunday Ticket this year. If you have the money, look into doing it because it was incredible. You could quad box it, do all these things. That number has not been released yet. I think that's going to be awesome. But the conservative number is that it's going to be 16 million extra in the cap. That could be as high as 20 or 25 million. So right away, we're already dropping cap space. But then there are a couple other things that a team can do that helps with the cap. So one of them is adding different incentives to players' contracts. So if you look each one of these options that we have here, you have different options that you could do. So we've heard that if we cut Russell Wilson before June 1st, it's the big hit, all $80 million at once, like taking the poison pill at once. If we cut him after that, it can spread that over 2 years rather than all $85 million at once. There's also all of this talk now with Bill Belichick most likely going to Atlanta. He is 14 wins behind the most winning coach in NFL history. We know the regard he has for Russell Wilson. We know the Falcons have the kind of team that Russell Wilson would thrive with. He's got Bijan Robinson. He's got Pitts, the tight end. He's got a team that was a win away from the playoffs and all these like horrible quarterbacks. So does he want to step into Atlanta and get a quarterback like Russell Wilson to help him get those 14 wins? And if he does that, he could trade for it, and then that helps all the dead cap. Or if we end up trading or cutting him and then they sign him to a deal, there's the offset language. So depending on what price he signed at, that counts against that dead hit. So if he gets a $20 million deal with Atlanta, all of a sudden, instead of it being $85 million in dead cap for a year, it would be $65. So that's great. Now, the other things that you can do is you can restructure or renegotiate the different deals. And by doing so, one of the things that you can add in are incentives. And there are two different types of incentives that you can add on a player. One of them are the incentive that is a LTBE, which is an incentive that is likely to be earned. So basically, you look at how a player performed the previous years and say, is it likely that they can do that? If you have a likely to be earned incentive, the player's more likely to sign it because they're like, well, yeah, I'm likely to hit that. But it's based on the previous few years. So Russell Wilson might take an incentive that is based on number of snaps, and it's based on the prior year. And so Russell Wilson sat out 2 games this year. The prior year, he missed a few games to injury. So would he sign an incentive-laden contract with a not a likely to be earned, but a not likely to be earned incentive? Those don't count whatsoever against your cap. So we could load up Russell Wilson's contract with not likely to be earned incentives. That kind of puts a chip on his shoulder if we're all of a sudden saying, we don't think it's likely that you get 17 games of snaps because we don't think you'll be the starter. Well, that's going to put a chip on his shoulder, and we could give him millions of dollars if he hits those not likely to be earned, and those don't count against our salary cap. And so those are cool, and those aren't just things that we could do just for Russ. We could do likely to be earned or not likely to be earned incentives for all of the players who are kind of there. So you look at Jerry Jeudy. He did not perform according to what everyone thinks of him. So could we renegotiate Jerry Jeudy's deal and say, 3 touchdowns, Jerry. And if you are the type of receiver Jerry Jeudy should be, 3 touchdowns should be his floor. But right now, based on prior performance, 3 touchdowns in a whole season is a not likely to be earned based on his prior year experience. So we could load up all these players who underperformed with not likely to be earned incentives that they are like, of course I'll do that. And that's great. The other thing is, if you offer a likely to be earned incentive, if the player for whatever reason does not earn that incentive, you get that back the next year as salary credit. So if we spread the Russell Wilson cap hit over 2 years, it's 35 and 45. Let's say we give a likely to be earned cap hit, which is you throw for however many yards that you did this year. If for whatever reason he doesn't hit that, we then get that the next year, plus the salary cap should go up again the next year. Also, just a lot of rumors. We have people like Tim Patrick, who has been injured the past couple of years. Will he agree to a restructured contract? Zach Allen agree to a restructured contract? Here are the different people. And if you go to the over the cap one, all you really have to do is pick 1 or 2 of these dudes, McGlinchey, Tim Patrick, Powers, DJ Jones. All you have to do, come in here and renegotiate 2 or 3 of these guys, and just like that, you are back under the cap. And you can get under the cap enough that then some of these players over here on that side, why is that not showing? There we go. Some of these guys who we want to re-sign, Josie Jewell, Fabian Moreau, some of these guys we can actually re-sign. Although we hear a lot of people saying that we have the talent in, some of our backups, some of our dudes that we've drafted recently, and we don't necessarily need to replace those. But Broncos country, I'm telling you, we are at the first year of the Shawn Payton. We saw going from 5 wins to 8 wins. That is just the start of this. Why would that not continue next year? That's part of the rebuild. Go watch the Colin Cowherd video where he talks about great coaches who come into a system. Their first year is always the floor. Look at Harbaugh when he went to Michigan and everyone was like, oh, he's going to get us the playoffs. It took him a couple years, but he got there. And I think the same thing is going to happen for these Broncos. And so because of that, I hope y'all are buckled up.